Welcome back to Film Flashback, where I take a look at movies and shows to see what makes them great or what could have made them better. I am your host, MD, and this time I wanted to take a look at episodes 5 and 6 of Ahsoka and explain what makes the villains so great. But before we begin, here's your warning that there are major spoilers ahead. It took 6 episodes, but we finally got to see the new big bad of Star Wars in Grand Admiral Thrawn, and he delivers one of the coldest lines ever in his introduction.
What was first just a dream has become a frightening reality for those who may oppose us.
This was far different than Baylan Skoll or Darth Vader's entrances, which were great, but they were soldiers. Thrawn is a tactician, so even though I loved watching Baylan tear through anyone in his path, Thrawn's mind is his greatest threat. Right here, he asked for everything on Ahsoka, and I know he'll find her weakness and use it against her, but it would be cool if he finds out Anakin is Vader and tries to use it against her, even though we found out in episode 5 that Ahsoka has now made peace with her past. I really liked how heartless Thrawn was too. He instructed Baylan and Shin to follow Sabine and take her out if the planet's inhabitants don't get to it first, and had no problem getting rid of either one of them, even though they helped Morgan find him. I also found it interesting how this show presents so many questions to keep you watching. Like, how did he survive all these years on this desolate planet? What is this cargo, and what is he going to do with it? How are they going to escape, and what is their plan for war when he gets out? I am especially intrigued by all of this mysterious cargo though. I bet he will find a way to somehow enhance his army using it and harness the magic from the witches. And after seeing what happened to Malrock, I know it'll be fun and creepy at the same time. It was also haunting how Thrawn's soldiers chanted his name as he walked into frame. They are clearly in shambles with their dirty, broken armor, but their chant makes it feel like they see him as more than a leader. Almost like Thrawn is their god, and this makes him even more dangerous because they will blindly follow his command, no matter the cost. Anakin is technically not a villain when he appears in Ahsoka's consciousness, but he clearly challenges her. It's hard to tell if he is friend or foe at times, which speaks to the brilliance of the writing of the episode and the acting of Hayden Christiansen. Now this is the Anakin I wished we would have seen from the beginning, and I love how he is able to be so charming in one moment and then so menacing in the next. Anakin teaches a valuable lesson right here, which I believe is the primary message of the show, that you choose your own legacy. In the first 2 episodes, we find out that Ahsoka never finished her training with either Anakin or Sabine. And in episode 4, Baylan tells Ahsoka that her legacy will be death and destruction, just like Anakin's. This plays right into her fear and why I believe she was reluctant to train Sabine. She didn't want to be responsible for turning her into another Vader. Ahsoka may have been trained as a warrior since she was very young, but she also has compassion, as we see here when she sits with the wounded soldiers and struggles with the loss of life because of her choices. Anakin told her he's teaching her how to lead and how to survive, but in order to do so, she must fight. Anakin also reminds her no one is ever too old to learn, and since Sabine is much older than most Padawans, she still has time. I loved the flashback into Ahsoka's past when she was a child. It was cool to see how she only had one lightsaber back then, and the references to the Clone Wars was really fun too. Life is about accepting the hand you were dealt and overcoming the obstacles that come your way. You must keep going. Ahsoka wants peace, but in order to obtain that, she has to fight. I think Ahsoka is afraid that her legacy will be all about death and war, since she was already a warrior as a child, and that she learned from one of the greatest villains of all time in Anakin. But he tells her that they are both more than that. Anakin ultimately proves this when he helps Luke beat the Emperor in The Return of the Jedi. He may have turned to the dark side initially, but later helped take down the Empire, and he was redeemed. You may be the sum total of your life experiences, but you still have the ability to choose your own path and become who you are meant to be. Episode 5 is my favorite episode of the show so far, and that is because of this character. I loved the scene where Anakin ran off into the fog of war, and for a split second you see Vader in his place. Darth Vader has to be one of the best villains of all time, and I hope he gets his own show because he dominates every moment he's on screen. Baylan Skoll is still my favorite character on the show. We are several episodes in and we still don't know exactly what his master plan is, but I love how under control he has been. After watching his eventual showdown with Ahsoka, I figured he would not have any action scenes for a while, so it would have been great to reveal what he's up to. But more on that later. Villains are usually out of control and sloppy, which makes it easy to see how they will be beaten in the end. But Baylan is far different, and I am looking forward to seeing what he does next. Of course, there are a few issues that are preventing Ahsoka from perfection. For one, Thrawn talks way too much. He still delivers one of the coldest lines ever right here, but then he just keeps talking. This was just a setup for what's coming next, so I believe we will see much more of his plan in the future. But it would have been nice to see more of his intellect on display. Maybe explain how he was able to survive all this time in exile and reveal a little bit of his master plan. Not through dialogue, but some visual storytelling. It would have been nice to see his vast knowledge of the planet he has been living on and how he conquered it. Or if he used knowledge of the Mythosaur or other details of the Mandalorian culture to further subdue Sabine. Also, Baylan really didn't have much to do here. We still don't know what he's doing, but it would have been cool to find out more about his ultimate plan. It seems Morgan is a little too trusting of this mercenary she just met. I think it would have been interesting if Thrawn actually knew who Baylan was and was tracking him to see what he was really up to. Or if Morgan was watching him the whole time and knew he was up to something. It would add to the conflict and the tension of the story because so far, Baylan has no real resistance to what he's doing. And finally, the Witches of Dathomir. They were first mentioned by Danny Trejo's character when he brought in the Rancor in the Book of Boba Fett. We also met Morgan in The Mandalorian when she battled Ahsoka, but we didn't know what she was at the time. This new villain brings an entirely different element to the Star Wars saga, black magic. And this all sounds great, but so far they have been disappointing to say the least. The carvings of the witches in the temple back in episode 1 looked like a promising setup, and Marok was most likely powered by their magic even though it has yet to be confirmed. But when we see them in action, I wish they would have exhibited more of their powers, showing us an ability we have never seen before. Watching Darth Vader force choke someone from far away was absolutely spectacular, so the bar has been set really high. But since a new villain was introduced, it would have been great if a new ability was revealed as well. And there you have it, why I think the villains in Ahsoka are so great. Let me know in the comments section below what you thought of this video and this show. Also, please like and subscribe so you can enjoy future videos on my channel. As always, thanks for watching.